Good morning, everybody. I'm Julie Roginski here with Michelle Kinney and Jeff Jarvis. Jeff, you're back.
I'm back.
How you doing?
Well, I'm worse for the wear, but I'm fine. When last we spoke, I had fallen and broke a vertebra, and then it turns out I had a blood infection on top of that. But I'm here. I'm hobbling with a cane,
Oh, God.
My God.
but I'm here.
This is awful.
But you're hobbling. The most important thing
Yes,
is you're
but I
here.
am hobbling.
Well, good to see you, and we're so glad that you're on the mend. Let's talk about Don Lemon, because news broke overnight that Don Lemon was arrested, despite a federal magistrate judge saying that there was no reason to arrest Don Lemon for covering, as a journalist, the protest at a Minneapolis church. If you remember, a few weeks ago, protesters went into a Minneapolis church to protest the pastor there, who was also an ICE agent. And Don Lemon followed them to report on the news. And it turns out a magistrate judge said, no, you cannot issue a warrant for Don Lemon. Like, I'm not going to sign off on that. An appeals court held up that decision. And so it seems that the administration went to a grand jury potentially and got an indictment and arrested. I'm not sure about that. But
Sure.
yeah.
I'm reading it was a bunch of they got like loyalists to do it. Like that's what I'm reading on my Minneapolis chats. Yeah.
And went to the Grammys yesterday, which Don Lemon was covering, and arrested him. Jeff, thoughts, comments?
I think at the high level, start with the end of the rule of law. And that they will do what they want to do, and the courts may in the long run stop them, but may not, and they just don't care. Georgia Fort, who's an independent journalist locally, was also arrested. She videotaped them coming to her home in the middle of the night, it would appear. And it's two Black journalists who were arrested by the white nationalist Trump regime for daring to cover something here. Important to note that they were covering this event. The church, as you said, Julie, is run by an ICE agent.
Yep.
Itself filled with irony, to say the least. There's video aplenty of Don Lemon saying, I'm here documenting this. I'm not part of the group. He's reporting on it. He's a journalist. And finally, what's most frightening here, besides white nationalists taking down Black journalists, is that these are independent journalists, and they don't have the backing of a large network and a large law firm and so on. And so they're vulnerable. They're highly vulnerable, as are you right here doing the work you do on May Day, as are so many people now who are witnesses performing acts of journalism. And so I eagerly look at the passing of mass media, as I've talked about often on this show, because I can't wait for the plurality of voices to come out of a new media that we can hear from. But here is the risk. Here is the peril. That independent media does not have the support that's needed in the face of a regime like this. And our only hope in the face of a fascist regime like this is this independent media, and they know it.
Yeah. Well, Don, in fairness, does not have the support of CNN anymore, but he does have Abby Lowell. And Abby Lowell is a storied attorney, and Abby Lowell left his big law firm. So he's going to do that. Now, apparently, as we're coming on air right now, Todd Blanche is having a press conference, which I have not heard, but this is what I'm seeing, saying they're now going to release all the Epstein files. And they're doing that.
Come on. Jesus Christ.
Good Lord.
You couldn't write this shit. You couldn't write it.
No. God. I'm trying to turn on my closed caption.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it up here.
What did you see in any story, any excuse?
I
They're
guess
just
it's
not gonna do it.
time. I guess the excuse is that they don't want journalists covering that and Don Lemon at the same time. So, you know, I don't know. They said that they're done with the Epstein files, and I guess they're going to release them.
He's speaking now. Do you want me to stream this here?
Sure. Why don't we
Hold
stream
on
it for
for
a
a
few minutes and see
second.
what those release?
Yeah, give me just 2 seconds here. Hold on. I just gotta switch this out. Share screen. Todd Blanche. Here we go. This is from the DOJ website, is where we are right now.
Sextortion network of deranged young men abusing women. Over the past several months, last summer and into the fall, we executed Operation Restore Justice, rescuing 205 child victims and arresting 293 offenders. I point this out because I take umbrage at the suggestion, which is totally false, that the Attorney General or this department does not take child exploitation or sex trafficking seriously, or that we somehow do not want to protect victims. We do.
Sure.
There are some select members of Congress and some in the public eye, including those most critical of our efforts at full transparency under the Act, who remain silent as to all the work that we have done and continue to do every day in this space, while quickly pointing a finger at the Attorney General or this department because we were careful in our review of millions of pages of documents over the past 2 months. The Attorney General, the Director of the FBI, and our partners throughout this administration work hard every single day to protect the most vulnerable among us. With the production of this magnitude, mistakes are inevitable. We, of course, want to immediately
Aaron
correct
Rupar
any
has 2
errors that our
excerpts
team may have
if you
made.
want to go
Yeah.
there.
And so the
Why
department
don't we
has
just
Okay.
established
do
an
that?
email
because he's going to
Yep.
blather on.
Yeah.
Yep. Got it.
He says that the number, this is Aaron Rupar quoting Blanche, the number of responsive pages is significantly smaller than the
Yeah,
total
I bet
number of
it is.
pages initially collected. That's what
Yeah.
we're releasing, more than 3 million pages today, and not the 6 million pages that we collected. Blanche says any Epstein document that, quote, would jeopardize an active federal investigation is not being released by the DOJ.
Cool.
So
All right.
half the documents violated the law.
Here's my Twitter here. Let me play this first clip here.
He erred on the side of over collecting of materials from various sources to best ensure maximum transparency and compliance, which necessarily means that the number of responsive pages is significantly smaller than the total number of pages initially collected. That's why I mentioned a moment ago, we're releasing more than 3 million pages today and not the 6 million pages that we collected.
Well, that's how you get rid of a conspiracy theory.
So 50%.
Yep.
50%.
Here's
And I
the
wanted Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Want to address what we didn't produce. The categories of documents withheld include those permitted under the Act to be withheld. Files that contain personally identifiable information of victims or victims' personal and medical files, and similar files, the disclosure of which would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Any depiction of CSAM or child pornography was obviously excluded. Anything that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. And finally, anything that depicts or contain images of death, physical abuse, or injury, also not produced.
death.
So, well, let me back up. What active federal criminal investigation? Because the only one I know about that they're doing is apparently, I think, into Bill Clinton and other Democrats.
Yeah, that's the irony, isn't it?
Yeah. So what exactly are they talking about? Are there others that we don't know about? Because Ghislaine Maxwell dropped a bombshell yesterday, and it's not a coincidence that Todd Blanche is having this press conference today.
Yep.
There were settlements with 25 men, according to what she said, and 4 potential co-conspirators. And who are these 25 men? Who are they?
Settlements, say some more, Julie. Settlements by whom?
Well, according to Ghislaine Maxwell, settlements by Jeffrey Epstein.
Epstein.
Or I'm sorry, no, received cushy plea deals with the government. I'm so sorry, not Epstein.
Okay.
It was with the
That's-
government.
Yeah.
With the government.
Cool.
And the other question I have for Todd Blanche, which I think is interesting, is who does he consider a victim? Because this Justice Department considered the men who were accused of this, but not prosecuted or convicted to be victims,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Look, we're going to get jack shit. We're going to get a
Yep.
whole bunch of redacted bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to get anything at all.
Yep.
And, you know, these are the questions that I think nobody is asking in the mainstream media. I mean, these are very fundamental questions. Who does Todd Blanche consider to be victims? Is it just the young girls and women who were sexually assaulted and trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein? Or do you consider Mr. Deputy Attorney General to be victims, anybody else? And if so, who is it? Fundamental question to ask.
And you're right about mainstream media have dropped this story. It was squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And every day they should be saying, it's day number 67. It's day number 68. The old Ted Koppel. They should have been tracking and saying, we're on this. And now what's going to happen? You're right. We're going to get jack shit. The only interesting thing is the conspiracy theories live on.
Oh, 100%. And this is where I hate to say it, the right-wing podcast world, who has been, rightfully, about all of this, it's like, I don't understand. This was part of what we supported. This is part of what we were voting for. This is why we told people to vote for you. Why are you being so dodgy about this? Theo Vaughn and Andrew Schultz and the rest of them. This is your moment to come forward because you are speaking to the audience that is going to move the needle on this.
Yep.
And, there's only so much we can do talking to ourselves about this. And while I talk to you guys, BBC, okay, this is the BBC. U.S. Justice Department releasing more than 3 million pages from Epstein files. Breaking news. Okay. There's a very important part of missing from that headline. Releasing only half of what, do you know what I'm saying? There's, they don't tell the whole story. Why? Why?
Because it's it's the desire to be first and to get something up as breaking news without actually analyzing what the news is. We all found
also,
this out.
2 seconds.
It's classic stenography.
Right.
It's classic saying, this is what they said. We report what they said. That's that. We are the mouthpiece of officialdom.
Yep.
And this is not officialdom. This is a coup that has taken over the country and needs to be reported upon as such, but they don't.
Yep.
Look, the interesting thing is that we all heard this live along with everybody else just now. And yet it didn't take long for us to be like, wait a second, there are some interesting questions here that just haven't been answered.
Right.
Yep.
That is correct, Julie.
I mean, what's so hard about this? What is so hard about this? Who are the victims, Todd Blanche? Who are they?
I want to play this next. He was just asked a question here. We're going to play this.
God bless you, Aaron Rupar.
Seriously, just before I play this, yes, God bless Aaron Rupar. He is doing the Lord's work out here.
Looking at a nexus of left-wing groups, this DOJ said that that's something that you guys were concerned about. Are you following money? Are you looking at a potential that all of this may be related somewhere?
I mean, yes.
Oh my God. First of all, it's like Tweedledum and Tweedleduh over there, truly. But secondly, they're coming for all of us. It's just, I don't mean to say that flippantly, or it's not a throwaway statement. I mean, we've been all saying and thinking this for 10 years, let alone the last year. They told us they were going to do this, and now it's happening.
Are you now, or have you ever been a member of fill in the blank?
Yep.
There it is.
Well,
There
of the
it is.
Democratic Party, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not blank. It's of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you ever given money to Kamala Harris or Joe Biden?
They don't need to ask because they have
It's
all our
all right. It's all in the,
Yeah. I mean,
right.
look,
Public information.
let's be very clear about what's happening. This is a fast moving. It's not a slow moving anymore. It is a
Yeah, it's
fast
picking up.
moving authoritarian takeover.
Yes.
And we need to call it for what it is. The media needs to wake the fuck up and call it for what it is. Because while Mark Thompson is having all hands meetings, extolling how Abby Phillips' show gives both sides of the equation, and it's so important to be able to do that.
They give voice to the coup.
Yep.
Julie, I know this is late because I was out last week because of my various medical misadventures. But you wrote a wonderful Substack column about your last encounter with Scott Jennings. And I wonder if you'd mind, in this context, recounting that, because I wanted to hear it from you, what happened on the air and what's happened since.
Well, what happened on the air was that I was on I guess it was not this past Sunday, but 2 Sundays ago with Scott Jennings. And it was a show that is typically hosted by Jessica Dean, who I think is wonderful, in CNN. And she was off that day, which I didn't know. And they had some guy sitting in who had never anchored before. So, of course, had no idea how to moderate anything.
No, he was giving big regional news vibes.
Yeah,
but
I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
I guess I decided to try him out, and I don't think it worked out. And I was on with Scott Jennings, and we did 2 segments. The first segment was, I guess, fine.
Yeah, it was
The second segment was Scott just screaming and talking over me and shutting me down before I could get a word in. And finally, at some point, I was like, Scott, you want to talk? Go ahead and talk. Like, I'm just going to not say anything. And then, he continued to be rude and just completely abrasive. And this guy was not shutting him down. And I'm not here to be in a scream match, right? I'm not here to be in a scream fest. I'm not even here to debate whether the earth is round or flat. Like, I'm past that, but I'm really not here to have somebody talk over me and be rude and abrasive. And ultimately it ended with me saying that people like Scott and the people he supports were the same people who on this bridge in Selma, Alabama, were fire hosing protesters. And of course, Scott jumps in. Thanks for reminding everybody those were Democrats. Those were Democrats. Like, haha, you got me, Scott.
Yeah. Just assuming that all the viewers are stupid and don't understand.
Yeah. And of course, then he proceeds to cut the clip. He waits a couple of hours. He cuts the clip that basically shows that, he's sticking it to me by trapping me. Oh yeah, I got Julie. It was all, Democrats. Haha. Isn't it funny? That was the Democrats who shut, And I was like, you know what? This has just reached a level of bullshit that I think CNN needs to be called out on. And I fully understood that I would never be allowed back on CNN again after I wrote that. I fully understood that Scott Jennings will be there ad nauseum for reasons that I outlined in my column. But I also thought it was important for people to understand who they're dealing with and the kind of person he is.
Yes.
And what CNN does not understand, and they should understand, is I guess there are people who are really desperate to be on television. And if I had been desperate to have been on television, I would have gone along with Roger Ailes. I'm not that desperate to be on TV. Like, don't need to see my face there. And to be honest, CNN is struggling. And I think I bring more to CNN than CNN brings to me. Like, I have a Substack that gets more subscribers than CNN gets in the demo. It's just reality. I'm not, this is like, all fact.
That's not hyperbole. And so people know, like, you can look and see, like, how many people are watching every given hour. And it's not that many people.
It's not that many. And so, like, I thought, okay, obviously there are people, I know there are women who feel the same way, because there are women who have been on text chains with each other that I've been on, talking about how Scott Jennings is particularly nasty to women. And most relevantly, when they stick it to him, because the women who stick it to him most, suddenly those women never appear again.
Have you heard anything, if I may ask, from CNN or anyone there?
Nope. Not a word. Not a word.
But I do think that you opened the floodgates, though.
I did open the floodgates because I did. And, God bless to all the people who are going to follow me on Abby Phillips' show, who are going to be able to stick it to him because they feel more comfortable doing that now. And all the people who spoke up on that all hands meeting about Scott Jennings, like, you're welcome.
Yeah, can
But
you
we're
talk?
still-
Can you talk a little bit about that?
How
Just
about
in case
Yeah, so
people
there's an all
don't
hands
know?
meeting. I mean, Oliver Darcy, I wasn't there, obviously. Oliver Darcy reported it. It was an all hands meeting that Mark Thompson, the head of CNN, conducted, I think, 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay.
And it's fascinating that the journalists there don't have the courage to say to Mark Thompson, "Hey, Mark Thompson, this guy's not a good look for us.
Right.
Like
It
he's not.
hurts us.
He hurts us. He's not
not
a good
brand-
look for us." And I
brand
want to be
safe.
clear again, and I said this in my column over and over again because I believe it's true. It's not because Scott Jennings is a Republican. David Urban is a Republican. Shermichael Singleton is a Republican. They have plenty of Republicans on the payroll there who I don't agree with at all, but they are respectful and they're decent in the way they speak to you. I don't know if they're decent people in real life. I don't know them, but they're decent in the way they speak to you. And they don't lie in ways that are just obscene and therefore demean the network. So this is not about anybody other than Scott Jennings. And, you know, ultimately, I guess somebody at CNN, I don't know who, Oliver didn't say, had the courage to say, "Hey, can we just talk about Scott Jennings for a second?" And this is what they talked about, which I think is absurd. Scott refers to them as illegal immigrants, but that goes against our standards because we're supposed to refer to them as undocumented migrants. And shouldn't we like have consistency as to how we refer to people? Like there's a standards protocol that we have here. And Mark Thompson, parentheses, former head of the BBC, former head of the New York Times, I think on the board of 23andMe, like a guy who's had real jobs in the world, said,
Yeah.
no, we don't police our contributors the same way that we police our journalists. And
Even though he is a paid, highly paid staffer of CNN.
Yeah.
well, he's a contributor. I don't know if he's W-2, but he's a contributor, right? He was what I used to be at Fox. And so he's a very
They
high.
they pay him to
Pay
speak.
him. Oh yes, they pay him.
A lot.
And then he proceeds to say, "Oh, and by the way, I think that Abby Phillip, the show that he's on, Abby Phillip, is just a great show because it allows people to talk to like 50% of the country or some bullshit like that." And
Meanwhile, Kevin O'Leary was on this last week, Mr. Wonderful,
Yeah.
and I forget who it was who said that ICE has white nationalists in it, and he went berserk
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
wasn't really challenged.
Tiffany Cross said it.
Thank you, Tiffany Cross. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: I heard from a lot of the women at not who work for CNN, but a lot of the women who were shut down by him in ways that are really obscene and awful, and who are not ever on air with him anymore, because I guarantee you he calls producers or whoever the head of booking is at CNN and tells them not to book those women anymore.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the cowardly part of him, is he doesn't actually want to be booked with people who stick it to him.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, once again, I envision you leading a parade of honorable women
Thank you.
fighting against the stupid white male patriarchy, and where it's led us. So thank you.
I mean, thank you for saying that. I didn't do it to lead anything. I
No.
just, I wrote it. I don't think
That's how leadership happens.
Yeah, I don't think I wrote anything as quickly in my life. I mean, I literally got off the air and was so pissed off that I was like, I got to get this out of my system. I showed it to my husband. I said, "Do you think I should publish this?" And he said, "Oh, you might want to sleep on it." And I said, "Yeah, I don't think so." And just hit send. And
Yep.
I will say that column has been read by well over 1 million people now, which is much more than CNN gets combined for all of their primetime shows in the demo. So again, I ask CNN, what is this for that you have Scott Jennings here, other than they're terrified that they're going to be taken over by the Ellisons or by Barry Weiss, or spun off to be taken over by some, who God knows what, and then Scott will be ascendant and they'll all be fired. I mean, they're sitting here in terror. Mark Thompson is sitting there in terror of Scott Jennings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to get in a second to Barry Weiss's new hires, but just to mention parenthetically, this disease hits during certain day parts on MS Now.
Yeah.
Where last week, both Morning Joe and Katie Tur had on Representative Lawler, the odious Mr. Lawler, who was defending the ICE actions because we have to do something about the sodomy in the streets. Both times. Wags on the socials mentioned that there is this effect of shrinkage when it's really cold out, but we'll leave that aside. It's bigotry. It's a lie. It's bigotry. It's horrible. It goes unchallenged. The fact that they feel the need to invite him on, they do not challenge him when he says this crap. We have to challenge them when they do that. But there are homes for them. It used to be just Fox News and the people you had to deal with there.
Yeah.
It used to be the fringy Newsmax. Now they can appear on CNN. They can appear less frequently on MS Now. And of course, now there's CBS and Barry Weiss hiring nut jobs to be her commentators. Niall Ferguson, right-wing ideologue, and then a new medical commentator who doesn't believe in germ theory.
Cool. I feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
Feel healthy inside.
All in the interest of bipartisanship, right? All in the interest of hearing both sides. And listen, I've talked about this ad nauseum since it came out. Michelle, I know, has heard me talk about this nonstop. Jeff, I don't know if you saw this column in the Atlantic or an article in the Atlantic. I think it was this week, maybe it was last week, about Steve Bannon. But if people here watching have not seen it, I strongly recommend that you read it because it says everything. Steve Bannon basically talks about the Overton window and how they're pursuing a maximalist approach. And the purpose of the maximalist approach is to move the Overton window so far to the right that things that would have never been considered acceptable before are now just considered everyday stuff. And that's what CNN and CBS and others are doing by platforming these people, right?
Exactly.
Because if I say that the earth, as I keep saying this, if I say that the earth is round and you say that the earth is flat and that is given equal weight, then, now we're debating this. I mean, it started at Fox. It started at Fox when Fox was talking about global warming. From my earliest days of Fox, which was 2004. That's how long ago this was.
And did they go outside and touch the snow? And they're
like they would go like on days like today here in New York City, where it's very, very, very cold and there's snow on the ground. They would go and say, I don't know, liberals talk about global warming, but if there were global warming, would there be snow right now? And it led a whole bunch of people to believe that global warming did not exist, despite the fact that 99.9% of the scientific consensus is that global warming is a real thing. That was Fox. Fine. But now that disease has jumped over to CNN, where one person says the sun rises in the east, and Scott Jennings says, no, it rises in the west, and then shouts you down for saying that it rises in the east. And CNN's anchors allow him to do that.
Yeah, it's like, give him a second, let him speak.
Yeah, let him speak. Okay, if that's the case.
Yeah. Well, and which I think leads us back to this news about Don Lemon and Georgia Fort, right? Is that independent journalists, independent media is the only pillar that could possibly save us and also inform the American electorate, because we cannot rely on any of this anymore. And it's going to be very difficult to deprogram people out of legacy media. CBS, I trust them. CNN, if they're saying it, it must be true. If they have people on who are saying it, it must be true. Instead of going to more reputable independent journalists like Don Lemon or someone like Georgia Fort or any of the other, people out in the streets telling the stories, like war correspondents at this point. I mean, honest to God, the people out there with cameras in Minneapolis in the streets. And so, CNN, CBS, they're all bought and paid for. And these people have corporate overlords who are telling them what to say or what they cannot say every single day. And it puts all of us in grave danger. Grave danger.
Yes. And we haven't smashed the New York Times yet today.
Let's get to it.
But just a minor note, because I think it's because the Overton window smashing and the both sidesing are part of the same ailment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It has the same effect. My friend Mark Harris quoted the New York Times editorial about the murders of Good and Preddy. And they said the temperature in Minneapolis is dangerously high. There's an urgent need for federal agents to step back and take a breath before Americans are hurt or killed. And then they add that they feel obliged to add this sentence. Those protesting the Trump administration have an equal obligation to avoid violence.
What?
Yeah. And so there that is how it's normalized. That is how the stormtroopers are normalized alongside the poor people trying to just live their lives or exercise their rights while we still have them in this country. And so
Solidarity has an equal right to the communist regime in Poland of not engaging in violence.
Right.
What?
Right.
What?
They failed us. They failed us constantly. And again, going back to Don Lemon and Georgia Fort, the hope we have against this is independent media, and independent media are vulnerable, and independent media are now under attack directly by an authoritarian regime.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it's important to also say, quoting Martin Niemöller, first they came for the immigrants. Then they came for the trans kids. Then they came for, the list goes on. They finally came for the journalists, and the journalists are going to sit up and pay attention. But okay, let's hope they also look back at the others who are now being held or tried or threatened similarly.
Well, are they paying attention? Because, you know, you have a whole bunch of right-wing journalists out there, who are going out there and saying, you know, Don Lemon got indicted by a federal grand jury, and so this is, you know, all by the book, and so on and so forth. And you reap what you sow, Don Lemon. And I want to just speak to those people directly. I think they misunderstand, and I say this as a Democrat, I think they misunderstand where the Democratic base is right now. I think they have been very used to Democrats following norms, following rules, and saying, we're not going to, you know, I'm one Democrat who will not follow norms and rules anymore. Like, you break it, you own it, my friends. And the next Justice Department will go after all of you. I hope to God you have crossed every T and you know, dotted every I. I hope every penny of your taxes is accounted for. I hope you've got no traffic tickets out there.
Yeah.
Because it would be something. Because I don't know whether they realize this or not. The average person breaks like 1,500 federal laws a year without knowing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Will Kane from Fox, right? He's on Fox News.
Yeah.
He just tweeted this a little bit ago. Here it is. Make no mistake, Don Lemon is so excited. Martyrdom, quote unquote, and attention are the culmination of his life's work. I'm almost happy for him. Like, these people are celebrating. And
well, they project.
They
want to be the victims.
Yeah. And
always.
Will Kane, guess what? Guess what?
Guess what, buddy?
Rupert Murdoch and Lachlan Murdoch are business people. And apparently we have an FCC now that decides who they're going to award broadcast licenses to. Fox News doesn't need a broadcast license, but Fox Television does. Is that owned by them or is that owned by Disney? I don't know.
I always get confused.
Yeah, I think it's now maybe owned by Disney. But I will tell you, there's other things the government can do to the Murdochs. Many other things. I don't know. Why don't we reopen Rupert Murdoch's immigration papers? Right? We're doing that with Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
He's incited domestic terrorism. Why not?
I mean, look what the white. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, like, they don't understand that when they do this, they have created, because Democrats have never in their lives done this before. Nobody in their lives ever expected that Democrats would fight back, because Democrats never have. Chuck Schumer caved last night, you know, once again. Chuck Schumer's not who we're electing anymore. Understand. And there's not going to be one president in the White House that I or any other Democrat that I know will support who is going to go back to the old days. We want justice.
Well, even in Minnesota, the negotiations begin with Tom Homan. You know that that's going to be in bad faith. The starting point of that is, can you take a few away? No, the starting point should have been, get the fuck out of Minnesota.
Yep.
That's the starting point of negotiation. But when you start down here, you're screwing yourselves.
It's the Overton window, right?
Right.
It's the Overton window.
Speaking of, look at what the White House put out. When life gives you lemons with chain emojis, And then
Oh,
a picture of
jeez.
Don Lemon. Don Lemon arrested for involvement in the St. Paul church riots. First of all, it wasn't a riot, it was a protest.
Wasn't a riot.
Second of all, he was there covering this event as a journalist, as a member of the press, for which he is supposed to have freedom to exercise that right. And the fact that, again, this is a Black journalist, and they very deliberately put chains in the copy of this tweet should discuss and shake everybody to your core.
Yes. But there's no any norms we had
Out the window.
are gone. That's the point. They freed them. The whole cancel culture thing. We felt we had to play along with it. No, okay, well, let's be more cautious now. Let's be more. No, there was a strategy going on, and we got took.
Yep.
We being media.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, it was there's always a dog whistle, and I feel like we always fall for it in some way, shape, or form. And that starts with Lee Atwater and him talking about, we can't say the N-word anymore, so we're going to say states' rights, or we're going to say forced busing. And then it became CRT, and now it's DEI. And now they just come out and say it. They're just coming out and saying it again. And, and every single time we're so afraid of losing people in the middle that we bend the knee every single time, instead of forcing and creating a permission structure for people to say, no, we're like, this is insane. We're not gonna go down this road with you.
That's part of the Overton window progress, Michelle, is exactly that notion of the mythical middle.
Right.
The idea of the center.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh no, I'm not like them or them. I'm declaring myself in a center.
Mm-hmm.
And the center that they see moves, and you cannot be centrist and neutral in the face of fascism. There's no such thing. There's no center when fascism is involved.
And I want to, Michelle, I just sent you something. You can show it up on screen, because I want to put this. Apparently, this is one of the emails that was released from the Epstein files this morning.
Oh.
I just want to throw this up on screen because I have several questions pursuant to our conversation earlier today. From blank to blank. Alert. What does J.E., which is Jeffrey Epstein, think of going to Mar-a-Lago after Christmas instead of his island? Right? September 24th, 2012. What does J.E. think of going to Mar-a-Lago after Christmas instead of his island? Okay, first of all, I didn't realize Jeffrey Epstein was still going to Mar-a-Lago in 2012. I had thought that relationship was over a long time ago. Supposedly, right? But more relevantly, and this is the part that I think the media should be on right now. Why is the name redacted of who sent that email and who received it?
Right.
Why?
Are they victims?
Are they victims? Why?
Are they going to claim an ongoing investigation into?
So I'm going to throw this up here. I've been following along on Aaron Rupar's Twitter. And if I can get this to unfreeze, hold on, remove. There it is. Okay, let me just play this here.
You said in your remarks that you've withheld some documents because of ongoing investigations. I've done this long enough to know you can't comment on ongoing investigations, but can you say a little bit more? Because as you know, the department has been criticized for not bringing charges against more people. Are there still open investigations related to Jeffrey Epstein?
So what I was laying out in my comments is the statutory, what the statute talks about what we can withhold and the reasons we can withhold it. I wasn't pointing to any particular, I wasn't trying to be coy or otherwise suggest there's some investigation. As you all know, Jay Clayton in New York is in charge of any potential investigations, and I'm not going to comment beyond that on that.
Clayton.
Excuse me?
You were referring to Clayton's investigation.
I wasn't referring to anything. I was just saying that Congress, in their wisdom, allowed us to withhold documents if there were ongoing criminal investigations. That's one of the 4 reasons. I wanted to make clear with respect to any national security information that we were not withholding. There's not some tranche of super secret documents about Jeffrey Epstein that we're withholding. We're actually not withholding anything based upon NDI.
Really?
Sure. Sure.
Well, if that's the case, why are those names redacted?
Mhm.
Right?
Was it one victim sending something to another victim?
One object of an investigation to another object of an investigation. We need
Here,
a special master
mhm.
to ask all these questions, because obviously they have no trust.
Right.
Here's another clip here.
Very quickly, can you assure the American public that President Trump, like every other prominent person whose name came up in relation to the Epstein files, that all documents, photos, and anything relevant to him connected to the case are being released?
I mean, yes, I can assure that we complied with the statute, we complied with the act, and there is no, we did not protect President Trump.
That's not
we
an
didn't
answer.
protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents. And there's nothing I can do about that. But President Trump, of all the people in Washington, D.C. and around this country that have said for years the same consistent message about Jeffrey Epstein as President Trump. And so there's not been a change of course or anything, and certainly his direction to the American people and the Department of his direction to the Department of Justice was to be as transparent, release the files, be as transparent as we can. And that's exactly what we
He sounds like he's at a cabinet meeting.
Oh, 100%.
It sounds like he is
100%.
parsing his words because he's worried about saying something that's going to get him indicted. When and if the statute of limitations, which is a 5-year statute in most federal criminal cases, he better pray to God that a Republican is in office in the next 5 years, because there's no more Merrick Garlands out there. There will be a revolution if another Merrick Garland gets appointed. I mean, these indictments better come down in the first year. They better be going through and getting ready for these indictments now.
I was just thinking that. I was like, I hope somebody somewhere, some advocacy group is like literally cataloging every single hour of every day of all this stuff and make an archive.
Project 2029. We need a Project 2029 so that on day
Yeah.
one, whoever the attorney general is, they are going to go and seek indictments before the grand jury in the District of Columbia to indict Todd Blanche for not complying with federal law.
So here's a serious question. They have their Heritage Foundation and they have Claremont to do Project 2025. Who on the left should we expect to be doing that now?
No one exists. That's the problem. The problem is nobody on the left exists, and they had that because they had Donald Trump that they knew they were going to get behind. And the key is you need a buy-in from the principal, and we don't know who the principal is going to be, but I will not support any potential principals unless they promise to seek indictments. And I don't want to hear about how that's going to prejudge a case. And I don't want to hear how the president's not supposed to get involved in the workings of the Justice Department. That was the case back in the day. But as Michelle pointed out this morning, may I remind you of John Mitchell? That was 50 years ago.
He could never.
More.
Well, you know what? I have two other fears. I have many fears. Two other fears in relation to this. One is destruction of documents. Trump doesn't put anything in writing. He destroys documents. Everyone through the Justice Department is. And the other thing that's going to happen is that they will successfully force out any decent lawyer in the Justice Department. So there will be no witnesses and whistleblowers left who will be in the room when these bad things happen. And so that makes me afraid of, even if we do take over again, what material will we have? It's like trying to prosecute the shooters in Minneapolis when we don't even know the names of two of them.
Right. I mean, I have a tweet here from, I believe, Tim Miller makes a good point about this. He says, we haven't been told what government agents murdered Alex Preddy in the street, but the FBI has arrested the real danger, Don Lemon, for live streaming against the regime. Because
I do want to go back and look up the sermons of that minister.
Oh, God.
And I mean, at any other time, we'd question his IRS status, but that ain't going to happen either.
Yeah.
No, the same IRS that Donald Trump is now suing for $10 billion today. Did you see that?
Here's another clip, by the way. Todd Blanche is addressing the Don Lemon situation. Hold on.
Have anything to share about that?
And to follow up on that, do you have a reaction to the arrest of Don Lemon overnight?
Do you have a reaction to what?
To Don Lemon's arrest overnight?
Do I have a reaction to it? I don't know what that means. What are you looking for me to do? Jump up and down? No, I don't have a reaction to it. I don't know that the charges are unsealed yet. So no, I can't. I'm not going to comment on that.
Thank you.
Have anything to share?
Thank you. We're not going to have any follow-up questions on that anymore.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Oh, sorry. There's just a lot of good stuff here. I'm just going to keep playing. Sorry. This is
Again, God bless Aaron Rupar.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
I mean,
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them. Right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women. If we learn about information and evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But I don't think that the public or you all are going to uncover men within the Epstein files that abuse women, unfortunately.
How can you have thousands of victims, but there's no victimizers?
There's thousands of victims, no victimizers, and like we know Prince Andrew was one of the accused.
yes.
Are we looking into Prince Andrew? Like just, or whatever the hell his name is now, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Are we looking into him? Like that's one. Are we looking into Lex Wexner, who allegedly was engaged in this? Are we looking into some of these men against whom we know there are public allegations? Or do they think these victims abuse themselves?
And you know that there's more coming. Well, so this is going to go off a little bit, and I'm not accusing him of being a victimizer because I can't imagine him in that position. But nonetheless, David Brooks appeared in the Epstein files.
Yes.
And guess what happened today? David Brooks leaves the New York Times.
But he goes to the Atlantic.
He goes to the Atlantic.
He's going to the Atlantic.
I don't
The
get it.
House of Hot Takes.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, did you guys see the Vanity Fair article the other day about Kash Patel's girlfriend?
What about her?
I know.
The headline literally says, and I'm paraphrasing part of it, I don't know the whole thing, but it referred to her as literally the first lady of the FBI.
I did see that. You said that to me.
Mm-hmm.
The fashion story.
Yeah, just, she's a singer and she's this and that,
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, I'm happy to say in the last few minutes that we have here, apparently Boston's biggest theater
Yes.
did not sell one ticket to Melania, the movie. In Colorado, apparently only 2 tickets were sold.
I unfortunately looked at my local cinema here in New Jersey
Mm-hmm.
and checking in on tickets available, and there were a dozen and a half seats filled, which
I will
disappointed
say,
me.
I checked the 42nd Street AMC on Fandango
Mhm.
this morning, which is just, if people don't know New York, that's like kind of central. It's a big movie theater kind of.
Times Square.
Yeah, it's in the middle of Times Square. There were maybe 5 seats, I think, the time I looked at it. They were right in the middle. And there was 3 here and 2 here, and like that was kind of it. And that was for the 7:30 viewing, which is kind of prime time. So
Besides Bezos spending a fortune buying this wonderful property and then spending another, I think, $35 million promoting it, we've seen the ads again and again and again. it's also worth mentioning in relation to Epstein and in relation to Me Too, in relation to the movements, that Brett Ratner has used this as his path back.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about that because, as people here might know, I in my not so spare time run a nonprofit that has to do with silencing mechanisms. And so, over the last decade or so, I've had some very, very difficult conversations with a lot of survivors, some of whom are Brett Ratner survivors. Nope, not on any earth should
Yep.
Brett Ratner be allowed back into polite society. I'll just leave it at that because I want to respect people's privacy. Nope.
And association matters. David Brooks appearing at these things without having been upfront about it matters. Tim Cook going to the premiere of this so-called movie
Tim Cook,
matters.
Of course, it's not just Tim Cook. It's Tim Cook. You know, Tim Cook, and I wrote about this, and Tim Cook specifically irritates me, enrages me actually more than anybody else. On the very same day that Alex Preddy used his iPhone to document atrocities taking place at ICE, with ICE, and was executed for it, because to be clear, he was executed for filming what ICE was doing and nothing more. The man who sold him that iPhone, several hours later, did not stop to think, you know what, maybe today is not the day I go to the White House. Maybe I call out sick.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He went to Washington. He went to the premiere. He clinked champagne glasses. He hobnobbed with first ladies and presidents, and or the first lady and the president. And nothing in his mind, and the people who advised him around him said, you know what, Tim? Maybe the guy that sold the instrument of Alex Preddy's death should not be at the White House today, hobnobbing with the same regime that executed him. Like, it's not a great look for you, Tim. But all Tim Cook cares about is making sure that Trump doesn't levy tariffs on whatever manufacturers abroad in Asia make little spare iPhone parts. So it doesn't matter, right? Only shareholders matter. But he's got blood on his hands.
Oh, and I know that Steve Jobs was an SOB in a lot of ways, but I have to wonder if he would be doing this if he were still alive. I don't know.
I think his wife would have stopped him.
Maybe.
Lorraine Powell Jobs
she owns the Atlantic, where
well, there's now Brooks is the good point. And there's more technology stories to come out. And I'm a technology podcaster. I like technology. I'm interested in technology. But I think the paranoia that's going to come out. I saw a really good report on MS Now about facial recognition and how it's being used. And so the paranoia in me starts to say, we saw that earlier video of Preddy kicking the car, and by the way, had a hell of a kick to get that tail light off. Or it's an American-made car, so it's crap. And I wonder whether they recognized him in the fatal confrontation and decided they were going to take him out.
I absolutely had the same thought.
Facial recognition, they have him in the file. Oh, that's the same guy. This is the guy. Go get him.
Who's to say this wasn't premeditated and they hunted him down?
And we'll not know because we won't have an investigation.
Right. And here's the thing too with that video. So if anybody listening doesn't know this, so there was an additional video from a few days before of him yelling with an ICE officer. They wrestle him down and he kicks the back of their car. The tail light falls out, and they go after him. It's a whole thing. So obviously they had this video. They knew about this video beforehand, and they decided to sit on it and then release it later, thinking, I don't know, this is going to make our case, is going to make us look better. I'm like, first of all, this man kicked a taillight, therefore he deserves to die.
Right.
But second of all, I think it makes Border Patrol and ICE look even worse because it looks premeditated now. It looks like they planned it and took him out. And the fact that we still don't know, to what we were just talking about, we still don't know who these people were. I will say in some of the Minneapolis chats that I'm on, this little group of goons. They all travel around together. People have seen them out and been able to identify them by clothing in other places, and have seen some of them with their masks off. And I've seen pictures of them without their masks on. So I think it's only a matter of time until the public knows who these people are.
Facial recognition can work two ways.
Correct. But and this also, you know, it makes more sense now, because I remember even a couple weeks ago I saw a video of like an ICE officer holding his phone up and taking a picture of this woman or something, and it looked strange the way that he was doing. And then separately, there was another video that went viral where this ICE agent said to a woman, "We're putting you on a list of domestic terrorists."
So if you even appear
Yeah,
at a demonstration,
wear a mask,
they got
guys.
you. Yep, technology will
wear
have
a
a role in this and how it's used. And if you can't trust the companies, this goes back to Tim Cook. If you
Yep.
can't trust the companies to resist even a little, let alone pandering to the authoritarians,
Yep.
then we're in
And-
trouble. I mean, back in the day when Google was going to do weapons work and robotic work, the employees of Google rose up in a revolt against it, and they got rid of that division and stopped. Well, now they're back to it now because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this thing in the Washington Post where they talk about the facial recognition. New app made by NEC, Mobile Fortify, and enables ICE officers to immediately compare phone scans of faces and fingerprints they encounter in the field against databases and containing individuals' immigration status and other biographical information. They also have license plate readers using high-speed cameras to photograph cars and store that data in commercial government databases. ICE officers can pull up a vehicle's movement history or search for all vehicles in an area over a period of time. And they showed that there's these, like, you know, lights or whatever on the side of the road where they have these little cameras hidden and they're scanning the back of your car. And they're everywhere. You can't escape them. And there's also
As-
cell phone location.
Mary P123 says in the chat, remember all the lists Hoover had?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I have in my hand a list, right? Well, now they don't only have the list, they have your biometrics.
Yeah. And it's you know, I signed up for Clear a couple years ago to get through airport lines faster. And I'm like,
Priorities, you know?
Right. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
they
don't
have
know.
all these
Should I have done that?
Well,
Oh, well.
they have it anyway, because now when you
I
come
know.
and go, it's your face gets you in and out. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
not just Clear.
Yeah, I know. It's and also when I read also that the FBI, Kash Patel, is infiltrating Signal as well, which Signal has been the end-to-end encryption app that people in politics and people, you know, organizers now have been using, journalists, because it was the safest way to communicate. Now doesn't feel so safe anymore.
No.
And not
So-
WhatsApp, because that's owned by Mark Zuckerberg. So God only
Oh
knows.
God, yeah, no. Just assume everybody's reading everything you're writing.
Okay. On that happy note, Jeff, it is so good to see you back. And in
Yes.
good shape.
good to be back, my friends.
Yeah. And hang in there. We'll see you next Friday, hopefully, assuming everything goes okay. Feel so much better. Michelle, I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Amen.
And everybody hang in there. Keep asking questions about the Epstein files because
Yeah.
you're being lied to.
Yep.
On that note, Trump is on the Epstein list.
He is. He
Yes.
is. Yes, he is.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.